remember your icebreaker. Were you nervous? Were you scared? I was shivering. I didn't want to say anything. My dad was there doing that whisper, non-whisper. Shawn, say something. Say something, Shawn. My lips were sealed. And then the doctor slapped me. Psh! Wham! Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, and to everyone who's ever been abused by organized health care. It's hard to speak, isn't it? But I was raised to be an icebreaker. Let me explain. From the time I was very, very young, I watched my father do one thing more than he did anything else. Wherever we went, whoever was around us, if you were within earshot, he would shoot from the hip. Hey, what do you think about this weather we've been having, huh? Oh, you think America's going to get the gold in the Olympics this year? Hey, can you believe we put an actor in the White House? Democracy fails us again. And just as soon as I was old enough to begin speaking, he dragged me kicking and screaming into his social experiment. I took a test in school. Hey, Shawn, get over here and say something about that test you took. I took a test, and it was hard. A little bit later, I began learning Spanish. Hey, Shawn, why don't you get over here and say something in Spanish to this native Spanish speaker? Yo quiero Taco Bell? Even later, when I began dating. Hey, Shawn, why don't you get over here and say something to this nice young lady? Tell her that thing I told you. Done. How much does a polar bear weigh? Enough to break the ice? He was always pushing me and pushing me to speak in front of people. And the very first time I spoke to a packed house, he wasn't even there to support me. I can't blame him, though. After all, it was his eulogy. "19 years old. And my mentor is gone. Can you feel that ice? We talk about ice all the time, but what is ice? See, I believe that ice is the fear of vulnerability. Every time you reach inside of yourself and you present your heart for the world and they just slap it down, it gets colder. The whole world becomes covered with ice, and so pretty soon you don't even look people in the eye anymore. You just stare down at your shoes until they've passed by. Have you ever experienced ice? See, I believe that we all start off with nothing. No past, no problems, no prejudices, no preconceptions. But then you go along and you meet the first person. You ever say good morning to somebody and they just look at you like you just flatulated in a house of worship? That's ice. You ever look at somebody and say, hey, good morning. Hey, can you give me a hand? They walk away clapping. That's ice. The first time you say to someone, I love you with all of my heart, and they say nothing. It's cold. But see, my father understood that the world is cold that way. I'll never forget. A few months ago, I moved into a new place, and I noticed I had a brand new neighbor, and you're so excited about meeting the new neighbor, and I'd wave and say good morning, and she said, Buenos dias. Oh. Now, I've been speaking for a long time, and I can break the ice in English. One morning, I'm hopping out to my car, I run into her. She looks at me and says, Hola? And I begin to look at my shoes. But then I hear her, she says, hello.
How are you today?
She was reaching out. She was pulling from inside of her, offering herself to me, and I was making it cold. But then I heard it.
Hey, Shawn, why don't you say something in Spanish?
So I lifted my eyes and said, Hola, señora. ¿Cuánto pesa un oso polar? How much does a polar bear weigh? You cannot control how people treat you. But do not let the people who have hurt you in the past cast that shadow over the people you've yet to meet. You have no idea how wonderful they will be. When you're walking by someone, lift your eyes, look at them directly, speak to them, say anything. The next time life gives you ice, be a polar bear. Break the ice. Madam Contest.
Woo!